Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Hello Goddess podcast and happy fall. I love fall. It's my favorite time of year. I love all the seasons. It just makes me so happy. So, Hello Goddess, right? This space was born because healing isn't linear. It's not neat. It's not one size fits all. It's sacred and savage. And sometimes, it's raw and messy. And through my own journey, I've explored many different ways of healing. So today I want to share them with you, what they are, what actually happens in the body, the pros, the cons, and how they've been a medicine for me. My hope is that you hear something that resonates, something that reminds you that you are not alone, and healing doesn't always have to look just one way. There are many different ways for us to heal. So, to get started, I'm probably going to talk about the most popular one, or the one that we all know about, which is talk therapy. So I first started talk therapy when my ex and I broke up. And basically, it's a classic form of healing. Talk therapy, it gave me a safe container to unload my thoughts and just to get everything out of my head. And I was able to see my patterns very clearly. The pros, right, with talk therapy is it gives you structure, you have accountability, you have also a safe outlet. The cons that I felt with talk therapy was that it can kind of feel a little bit slow, and it is a bit surface level depending on who your therapist is. So for me, talk therapy, it really helped me just get everything out of my mind and out of my body and say it out loud and identify those patterns. Then from there, I went into EMDR therapy. So when I moved back home last year in March, I found an amazing therapist who is also spiritual. So for me, I take a lot of time before I actually find a therapist that I want to work with, because as I go down a different path of life, I need to ensure that my therapist also is aligned with that. So I found amazing one. If you're ever interested, let me know. So what is EMDR therapy? So it uses eye movement or tapping to reprocess trauma so it loses its emotional charge, right? So for me, EMDR was able for me to go back in time to situations where my trauma was present and feel everything. I was lying down and, you follow her fingers with your eyes, and I was lying down and I was remembering smells. I was remembering the abuse that happened at my house, at my father's house. I would remember different situations where I used to go with my mom to work or at school, and I would just talk through how I felt, where I felt it in my body. Sometimes I'd have aches or pains that would come out of it. And honestly, I'm a firm believer that in order for us to process our trauma, we need to feel it. I've suppressed everything my whole life, basically, for my whole life. I suppressed all the trauma all the way up until I started doing the work at 28. And I knew it was there. I was aware of what happened to me, but I just didn't want to experience it. I didn't want to deal with it. And EMDR therapy helped me feel it and helped me release the feeling from my body, right? So the pros. The pros is that it's evidence-based and it's effective for trauma. And the cons is that it can be intense and it requires readiness and access. So you have to be at a good, in my opinion, right? You have to be at a good mental state to want to resurface these things and remember and actually have it leave your body. It's a lot. It's a lot to sit with, a lot of darkness you need to admit to yourself, and it is overwhelming. So having a really good therapist and support system is super important. The next thing that I want to talk about is Pilates. So Pilates for me has been probably the number one thing for healing, because Pilates has been my own body healer. I've been able now to sit up with my posture. I think about my breath. I think about my belly button back towards my rib cage. And I think about my obliques go in towards my midline. I roll my shoulders down my back and I lengthen through the crown of my head. So immediately I'm sitting up taller and I'm elongating my spine. Sometimes I sit in flexion where I round because it's comfortable, but how do you engage your core at all times? So for me, Pilates was that way of healing. healing. It was the way of coming back to my body, to my breath, being more present and intentional, and getting out of my head. So when I started to become a Pilates instructor, it has been a game changer when it came to rebuilding my confidence and finding my voice, feeling comfortable with my voice, because now I'm teaching in a room full of people and just being comfortable overall with myself. So Pilates highlighted a lot of my insecurities, a lot of old narratives that I would tell myself because I was bullied in elementary school for my lisp and middle school, and I was always afraid to say shoulders and soldiers. Like, kids would make fun of me and say, Sally saw seashells by the seashore. And like, now I'm talking and there's a lot of S's and Z's or whatever in Pilates, and I'm like, oh my God, my mouth, like my mind. And it helped me regulate my nervous system. So Pilates is where strength and spirituality met for me. So the pros, right, is that you build your strength, it calms your nervous system, it creates embodiment. The cons that I would say is none. No, I don't think there's any cons with Pilates. Of course, I think everybody needs it in their life. Pilates was built for rehab. It was built, to really help fix how it was designed for people to start sitting up taller, to start thinking about their posture. Because if you think about it, we live in a world where we live in flexion. So eventually we're going to keep rounding forward. So Pilates was meant for rehab. So there you go. The next thing that has been really important in my healing journey is breath work. And breath work is one of the most powerful tools that we all have. It's free. Because by changing the way that you breathe, you literally change your body chemistry. So here's what happens in your body, right? You have deep rhythmic breathing. Deep rhythmic breathing, it increases oxygen and it lowers carbon dioxide. So it's shifting your brain chemistry and creating altered states. It activates your nervous system. It sometimes calms. It is sometimes calming, and it allows your trauma and emotion to surface and release. So that's why you might feel a bit tingling. You might feel heat, waves of energy, or sudden tears. For me, breath work, it took me a while to get this, right? Like I'd lay there and I'm like, okay, inhale, exhale, like, thinking like, what the hell do I do? And I was so in my head. And that's one of the things I'm working on, is how to get out of our monkey mind, right? And how to be present and feel everything. And there was finally a point in my breathwork journey where I was able to fully release and fully surrender just to the breath and get out of my head. And there were moments where I started crying, where I started laughing. I would get visuals of like visions and stuff of my future. And it was pretty cool to tap into it from a different perspective that has nothing to do with plant medicine, which I'll talk about in a minute later. So the pros, right, of breath work is that it's accessible, it's safe, it's transformative, and there's no substances needed, like I said. The con is that it can be very overwhelming at first. It's hard. Most of us do not know how to breathe correctly. I'm still learning how to breathe correctly. Our breath is our best friend. And I always say this, not just in Pilates, but in life. If you know how to breathe properly, you're able to handle a lot of situations and stress that we have in our life, right? I also recommend that it is best guided to do some breath work in the beginning, so then you get the patterns. Of course, if you can do it by yourself, do it by yourself. I find a lot of release and excitement when I'm doing with other people, because I hear their release and it makes me feel safe. And it's different when you're breathing in a room full of people. Like, there's something that's so special about it, and I think everybody should experience it, at least once. The next thing I'm going to talk about is mushrooms. So what are mushrooms? Psilocybin, right? So mushrooms are a fungi that contain psilocybin, which your body converts into Oh my gosh, sorry. See my list. I'm getting in my head and I'm getting nervous because I have to say these words that start with S's and P and S, and my mind and my insecurities coming out right now. But that's life. So it converts it into psilocybin. That's what shifts your mood and your perception. So indigenous cultures have used them and has been using them for centuries as teachers and for plants. So for me, mushrooms were the start of my awakening. Last year when I came back home, I didn't want to be here. I hated my life. I wanted to leave the US. I wanted to go live in Mexico. I just did not want to be here. And but I knew I needed to stay because I was gone for 6 years. And when you live abroad or you move away from home, there's reasons why you left. And I was avoiding that part of me. I was avoiding that person I become when I'm home because it's easier not to have to face myself, right? And face the people. So I was ready to leave. I hated it. I hated my life. I was banging my head against the wall because I didn't want to be here. And then I found mushrooms. And then I started taking a lot of mushrooms every week. And I was going deep and dark with myself. I sat down. I remember in my Venice apartment, I would just take whatever amount of mushrooms felt called to do. And I would just take them and see what happens in my mind. And at first, it was a really hard journey for me to open up my mind because my inner child did not want to let me in. And then after I was able to remember all the abuse that happened to me, I was able to feel it. I was able to see it. And I was able to understand my loops and my patterns and able to understand other people. Like I was able to understand my ex and his trauma and his patterns and how much darkness is inside of him. I was able to understand my mom and how she had her own trauma, dealing and doing the best that she could to raise us and having like sympathy for her. And so it was really great for me to piece everything in. Sometimes it was deep and dark. Sometimes I was having a slumber party with my inner child and we were singing Britney Spears' Oops, I Did It Again. And I had my pigtails and I was wearing lingerie and having a great time. So mushrooms have been an amazing journey for me to tap into. At the same time, when I was doing mushrooms, I was doing EMDR therapy because I needed both. Well, I mean, I probably didn't need the mushrooms, but I enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed tapping into my subconscious, basically. The EMDR therapy helped support that because then I was able to talk to my therapist about my experiences. And then we were able to dive deeper through the EMDR therapy with eye movement to fully release it from my body. So I paired those two together. So the pros, right, when it comes to mushrooms is that it opens up your heart. It helps with depression, anxiety, and it reconnects you to nature and yourself. The con is it can, cause nausea. You do get very nauseous. And if you're not ready, it can be very scary to go into that dark path. So you have to kind of be ready and open to the experience. One of the other things on top of mushrooms that I've done is ayahuasca. So Aya is a sacred Amazonian brew made from two plants, the ayahuasca vine and the my lisp again, the chacruna leaf. The vine allows your body to absorb DMT from the leaf, which opens the door to visions, purging, and deep emotional release. For me, Aya was purely surrender. It was an amazing journey. I did it last November, and I just sat with it in September, a couple weeks yeah, I don't know when this is going to be released, but I sat with it in the middle of September. and I always say I recommend it, but I recognize that plant medicine is not for everybody. We all have different ways of healing. For me, ayahuasca has been an amazing tool for me similar to mushrooms, to understand myself, to have appreciation, gratitude, understanding for the people who have hurt me in my life. The past year, I've been focused on how people have affected me, what they have done to me. And now this year, right, is how do I focus on myself? How do I grow into this goddess that I envision myself as, that I envision all of us to be? How do we all step into our power and be unapologetically ourselves no matter who is in the room? So now I'm focusing and shifting inward. So this past journey that I went on with ayahuasca, oh my God, it was truly magical and something that I can't wait to share on the next podcast with you. So the pro with ayahuasca, right, is that it's profound spiritual and emotional healing. It is so many life-changing insights that you get. It's like when you sit there for, one day, it's 10 years of therapy. It's an amazing, beautiful plant, or brew, I should say. The con is that it is intense. It is very overwhelming. It's super important that you find, if you are interested in it, that you find a safe place to do it. And the integration part is important. So I reached a point in my journey where I was doing too much plant medicine, and now I need to focus on the integration, because you do kind of get addicted to it. It's not like addiction, like, oh my God, I need it every day. It's more like, I love sitting in ceremony. I love singing songs. I love holding space for other people. And I just love exploring my mind, and I want to sit in it like every month, but the reality is, like, you get a lot of downloads, a lot of insights, and you need to process it. You need to understand it, and you need to integrate it. So Hello Goddess is part of my integration. It's part of stepping into my power. It's part of building a community where we can come together and heal. It's inspiring other women to feel comfortable with who they are. So, yeah. The last two things that I have done in terms of healing is energy work. So stuff like Reiki, sound baths, chakra balancing. Any energy work reminds us that we are more than just our bodies. So, I've had experiences where people have moved energy in my body from my different chakras. And again, it has been an amazing experience, especially if it's paired with mushrooms. It is insane. Like insane. Like, I love it. Like, I love it so much because it's so cool to feel the energy, to feel the person working with you, and to know that you're in a safe space. And like your breath, when energy is being released, it's crazy how long you can exhale for. And I'm like, I didn't even inhale. Like, everything's just coming out of me. Like, everything that's been blocked. Like, I have blockage in my throat chakra, and I have blockage in my heart because my heart is broken. We're rebuilding it though. We're rebuilding it. And I have a lot of energy right here in my sacral chakra. So like 2 weeks ago, I had work done on me to move the energy from here, which is where the creation is, right? It's our womb for females, where we give birth, where we hold our baby, and we moved the energy up. So I'm a firm believer in energy work. The pro is that it's non-invasive, it's soothing, and it brings emotional shifts for you. The con is that it can feel a little too subtle if you expect fireworks. So if you go in with some expectation, then of course, like, it's not gonna be boom and magical and this and that. But it is like after, right? Like the work that you're able to see after you do energy work, the shift in your life, that's amazing. The other thing I've used for healing is kambo. So kambo is frog medicine from the Amazon. It's the secretion of a giant monkey frog applied to small burns on the skin. So the peptides enter your lymphatic system and immediately activates your body. So here's what happens in your body. The peptides stimulate your immune system. It creates an intense detox response. Your heart rate will increase. Your blood pressure is going to shift, and your body purges, vomiting, sweating, and shaking. So afterwards, people often feel lighter, clearer, and more resilient, like their system has been reset. So for me, I sat with kambo twice. And basically, let's see if I can show you on the camera. So what it is I got burns right over here, and then they put the frog venom right here, and it's normally like 30 to 45 minute session where I'm just purging. So you're drinking a lot of water, and then you're releasing stuff from your body. So I have a hard time doing this. Yeah, I'll talk about that in another episode of I have a hard time letting things go. Like a lot of people purge and purge and purge. I can't. And that's why combo was recommended for me because excuse me, I was sitting in mushroom ceremonies, like wanting this big release that wasn't happening for me. And so then they recommended combo, and still in combo, I still feel like I'm not able to fully release. So that has to do with the integration. That has to do with things that I still need to get done in the 3D world and not in the 5D world. But that's okay. So the pros, right, is it boosts immunity, it clears your toxins, it sharpens your mental clarity, and it shifts heavy energy. So the cons is that it's physically demanding, it is not gentle at all, and it should only be done with a trained practitioner. You want to make sure anytime you're sitting with plant medicine, if you feel called to it, that you have somebody who's educated in it and who can create that safe space for you. I just want to also say, like, although I am talking about ayahuasca, mushrooms, and combo and energy work, I'm talking about it in an open setting because, you know, I wish I had this when I was going through my healing journey, and I'm not saying everybody should do it. I'm saying like these have been the tools that have helped me. And if you have questions about it, obviously reach out. Like I love talking about this stuff, but I'm not saying that everybody needs to do this. We all have our different ways of healing, of finding what works for us. And you have to honor and listen to your intuition when it comes to that. So goddesses, these are my teachers: the mushroom, ayahuasca, therapy, EMDR, community, Pilates, breathwork, energy work, and combo. So Hello Goddess again was created because I wanted a space where we are all in this together and where it can all exist. The sacred, the savage, the messy, the beautiful. Healing, remember, is not linear. It is not perfection. It's about trying, feeling, and finding what resonates for you. So goddesses, what does healing look like for you right now? Is it ceremony? Is it therapy? Is it dance? Is it breath work? Or maybe it's just crying in the car? I want to hear from you, because at the end of the day, healing is not about doing it right. It's about coming home to yourself. So goddesses, if this episode hit home for you, if you have been in the dark with your healing, if you ever felt the purge, or if it's Pilates is the only thing keeping you sane, I want to hear from you. And if you're ready for more conversations like this, make sure you subscribe to the Hello Goddess podcast. Share it with the goddess in your life who needs to hear this. And remember to join the Instagram, the TikTok, where we're going to make healing unapologetically sexy. And remember, babe, you don't have to do it perfect. You just have to do it honestly. Healing is messy, magical, and yours to do. And that's exactly why Hello Goddess was created. Thank you.